The fact is, in America, people don't give a rip about real truth or about other people. That's just a fact. And your truthers don't give an F about dead people. And I am sick of living around a society of people who don't care about reality. Let me tell you what I'm talking about. You know what pisses me off more than just about anything else is comments like this. This was just from like 2 or 3 videos back. And someone says, I predict more loss of subscribers. Now, it doesn't tick me off that I lose subscribers. That I don't care about. Not because I don't care about you. No. It's because I'm telling the truth. And if somebody doesn't care about the truth, they're not helping me out anyway. So, whatever. People can do what they want. But it does bother me that people don't care about the truth itself. That is very disconcerting. Now, this sort of comment is not a concerned person who's seeking my best interest. No, it's a warning. This is notification that I am to toe the line, not think for myself, become a drone, or everyone is just going to leave. Am I supposed to tell only the truth that makes people happy, and to which they already agree? This person expects that everyone should be just like himself, a truther, not interested in truth, but in loyalty. For this reason, political parties exist. Citizens suffer because issues that might help them prosper are subjugated for the benefit of parties. Towing the line should never be the goal of honest, real truth seekers. But sadly, 10 people were exactly loyal, mind-numbed, zealots of an agenda masquerading as quote-unquote truth-seeking, and they did indeed unsubscribe. Half of the term truth seeker is seeker. How can anyone seek if the information he allows himself is that which he already agrees with? Does anyone search for something for which he already knows its location? By definition, truth-seeking implies that the seeker is searching. Seeker, searching means the same thing, and truly wants to know reality. He understands that he doesn't have a monopoly on truth. So let's see how this sort of truth-seeking compares to other so-called self-described truth seekers. Have you ever been confronted by one of these guys? Like many other people, I've had plenty of these truth seekers come to my door. I've even invited them into my home to talk to me. Do you know what I discovered? I discovered that these wonderful people of God run out the door every time they are confronted with any sort of information that they have not already accepted to be true. They do not engage the conversation. They never ask questions. They assume they are the only arbiters of all reality. When questions or comments arise that are not already pre-approved by their superiors, they get up and they leave. Always. Now, you already don't like those truth seekers. Yeah, you've heard about them. But what about these ones? How about the Hubbard clan? Have you ever talked to these guys? I have. I went to college in Clearwater, which they own most of the town of Clearwater, and I went out on weekends to confront them on their home turf and attempt to engage them in civil conversation. I took tours of their buildings, saw their e-meters that they use to detect leftover engrams from their previous 4 trillion years of reincarnations, according to L. Ron Hubbard. Then I would attempt to talk to them. Would anyone like to guess what would happen when I would attempt to ask them common sense questions about their complete nonsense religion? Yeah, it went something like this. And this was not the first time. That's not me, obviously. But this was the first time I was escorted from the premises of the Hubbard clan, but it was not the last. About a year ago, I dared to ask another cult leader, Hubbard, to consider looking into the truth of Hugh Squire. Hugh has had 4, a big number in gematria that should have gotten the attention of the truth seeker, wives, fiancés murdered at his own home. Actually, around the property of his home. And the politics surrounding the murders would fill 100 books. On top of that, this same Hugh knows the ins and outs of the films and music that mark him over and over again, through gematria, among other ways. And guess what sort of reaction I got? I got the following comments from the gematria cult leader Hubbard. "You are nothing, and no one is going to miss you," quote unquote. Sound like a cult leader to you? Sound like a cult leader's comments? I think Leah Remini might recognize such comments herself. These 2 times are not the only 2 times I've had to deal with cult leaders who are not the least bit interested in telling anyone any sort of truth. I changed colleges from Clearwater Christian College to Hiles-Anderson College in Northwest Indiana. While I attended there, I was frequently told that I was not loyal and shouldn't question Brother Hiles. Nearly everyone there hated me because I just didn't toe the line and couldn't fit in as a mindless drone. I had my own agenda for attending there, and everyone seemed to understand that I was never going to be one of them. One of their graduates, I won't give you his name, only a pic from his page, was having a conversation about the King James Bible on his church website. I was giving historically honest and factually correct information to one of his parishioners who was asking basic questions and obviously not getting answers. How do you think that went over? Yes, if you pictured all my comments getting erased and him basically disowning any knowledge of my existence, you'd be correct. How sad it is that someone believes he can own the thoughts of other people and feel that he should be the only gateway for truth. How long do you think a civil discussion would last with the following person? Explaining real truth to truth seekers is a lot like arguing with a woman. Have you ever tried to have a rational discussion with your wife or girlfriend when she was angry or emotional? How did that turn out for you? Did logic and reason get you anywhere? Did she stick around for a civil discussion, or did she just yell absurdities? If all the evidence in the world clearly showed she was wrong, would it matter even in the slightest? No, she is going to run out of the room screaming and hollering every time. If you are one of these people, what I'm going to say next won't affect you in the slightest. All the rational sanity in the world isn't going to sway you. Appeals to your emotions will bounce off the invisible wall surrounding your heart every bit as much as appeals to your reason will simply reflect like BBs off a stone wall. Sadly, I've observed while telling Hugh's story that most Americans fit this hard-hearted, dense-minded description. But just maybe, there just might be 1 in 10 million of you who are different. Hugh's former fiancée, Karen Kissel, died of a mysterious illness on Christmas Day. Hugh's fiancée, Terry Heath, was strangled on her dog's leash as she walked her dog. Hugh found her, gave her CPR, and life-flighted her to a hospital. 30 days later, she was murdered in the hospital. They murdered her on Hugh's birthday. Hugh's wife, Victoria Milan, was attacked, and Hugh also rescued her and got her to a hospital, where she also was murdered at the hospital, not the same one as Terry, after having her ear cut off. The murderers called Hugh and laughed at him while they did it, using the phone that belonged to her hospital advocate. They murdered her in the hospital on Halloween Day, Christmas Day, birthday, Halloween Day. His former wife, Nancy Fredericks, died away from him many years after their divorce, also of mysterious circumstances and marking an important event in Hugh's story. I have spoken many, many times on my videos and posts about Hugh's wives' fiancés that have been murdered and raped, though today I only mention the murders and only in the most basic way, to stress a bigger point. Yet the only response I ever receive by these so-called truthers is condemnation, distancing, or worse. So perhaps like the Catholics, I've been excommunicated, or what do they call that? When every religion has one. The Jehovah's Witnesses, they have their version of disowning you, and um, even the Scientologists, they have their way of disowning you too, if you disagree with them. And these people are no different. Some resort to throwing gas on the fire and actually blame Hugh for the murders. They do this despite the fact that Hugh has made great attempts to get the police and FBI to take murder reports and to investigate, yet none of them ever do. On top of police and government apathy, even the media will not so much as print an obituary for his former wives and fiancés. Yet, heartless and mindless fools still blame Hugh for his wife's fiancés' murders. These same fools who dare call themselves truthers act as aides to the government cover-ups of the murders and as daggers in the hands of the murderers themselves. Can you imagine what that must be like for Hugh? For this reason, I have decided that Bow and Arrow on Facebook will be a harbor for the truth of Hugh Squire. I can no longer tolerate those who laugh at murder while calling themselves truthers. I can no longer allow flat earthers and cult followers to mock reality and to blame Hugh's relatives for disasters, like the person whom they blame for causing coronavirus only to sell them vaccines. You can go back a few videos and see that. I have changed my group to private settings so that I can make it clear to all that I am now to everyone now that I'm dedicating my group to telling Hugh's experiences only to those who actually give a crap. I will no longer be offering a platform to those who do not care about the murders of real people and real government cover-ups. You already have Alex Jones, every pro wrestler, Julian Assange, Hubbard, Roseanne Barr, Edward Snowden, and every other so-called truther providing information. Not one of them care about real murders. Not one of them care about real government cover-ups. So screw every single one of them. So I have to wonder now, how many of you will prove what I said here? Will you angrily run away from my channel, screaming and yelling to yourself as you go? Will you ignore everything I said about real dead people and get straight to your point, like a Jehovah's Witness at your door who could care less about your personal issues, but wants to jump straight into a theological discussion, and if you don't answer correctly, will just angrily stomp away? If you leave a comment that doesn't begin with some sort of version of, wow, 4 dead wives, really? I've got to learn more about this. Oh, that's terrible. How can I help? Where can I learn more? Or some such, I will simply do what all of you do to me and escort you out. I don't care about your truth, quote unquote, until you care about the truth of real murders. And if you're a decent person and that does appeal to you, thanks for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe.